Tron. Tron movie. Uh, Tron from 1980. I think 82, 83. I could look it up. Yay, Tron. Tron is a favorite. I grew up watching Tron stuff. There, the first time I saw Tron was at a sleepover party. I must have been in first or second grade, and they put the movie on, and I saw it that it was one of those movies that I haven't seen. They put Tron on and Remo Williams. And somehow that stuff missed my radar. I was all Wizard of Oz and Muppets. And all of a sudden, these dark movies show up. These dark adventure stories. But if you watch it, it's not. But when you're a kid, Tron is it's kind of dark. But what I like about it is the gladiator story. Which is also where I think the later Tron. I have the volume cranked to see if I can do chores and still pick something up on the microphone. Tron. I think the Tron. I'm about to watch the third one, but the second movie, I think where it messes up a little bit is that it doesn't embrace the idea of the gladiatorness of Tron. The whole hook of the movie is that a person plays a video game, and when you play video games, it's nothing but challenges and danger, and your character dies. And the idea of Tron is that when your character dies, actually in the game, there's a living person that is that character. There's a bunch of digital people that have to play through whatever game that you're doing, and they don't survive. If you fall off the cliff, you just killed someone. That's torture. The idea is if you die in the game, if you're you know how Donkey Kong and Mario have 0, you have 3 lives, 3 chances to beat it. So there are a bunch of gladiators who hate their lot in life. That they're just dying constantly left and right. But there's one gladiator named Tron who never loses. So the idea of what makes Tron amazing is everyone who's played a video game, sometimes you're losing, and then all of a sudden, you made that perfect run, and the idea is that Tron may have come along on the other side of your video game, and just kick the crap out of whatever was the problem. That's what's so fun about Tron. And the guy who makes the video games, the story is that he has to go suffer that. He has to go suffer being a gladiator since he made that mess. Tron's a neat story. When you look at it, although they made it state of the art and stuff, back then it's heavy. It's some heavy design work, is what I'm saying. It's also low budget. Tron looks like someone got imaginative, and they did like an art school film project on one side of it, because the soldiers are just wearing hockey gear. When you see it on screen, it looks amazing. It looks like they designed these outfits and stuff, but they just took the hockey pads and stripped them down and colored them with strips. This little stuff like that. Same thing with Star Wars. Like, people think the lightsabers are amazing, but it's just they ripped off the side of a camera. Lightsabers are just the camera flash. Those old 1930 cameras where you go, psh, the flash bulb. They ripped that off a camera and started swinging it around as if it was a sword. They put a stick on the end of it. But Tron's neat. I'm a Tron fan. The music is amazing. The Tron theme song. I decided what's next is either I'm about to watch Tron 3 is what it is. But I'm going over Tron and then I'm gonna hug Avatar for a bit. So also, well, I wasn't saying the second movie, as cool as it is, I think they needed to. It would have been neat if they had hugged the idea that it's a gladiator story. They went into the politics of the grid instead of. It was about Game of Thrones instead of a hero needing to rise up and save the people. But that's exactly what happened. A hero showed up to save the people. I like I keep hoping. I've been waiting for Tron 3 for a really long time. This is me with showing my excitement for it. I'm gonna record this and then I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna say something else afterwards with Tron 3. But Tron 2 left everyone in a really happy spot. where they'd actually used their imagination, and they had the digital people show up in the real world by the end of it. At the very end, and it made you say, "Holy cow! What are they going to do now? What does that even mean? What does that even mean that a digital person could show up in the real world? In the game, they get hit and they turn into little cubes and stuff." Does that mean that they could create all sorts of weird monsters and things, and then boot them out in the real world, and then you'd have flying discs and stuff down the street? It's right now, if you hear what this is I'm sweeping Christmas tree branches in February. Tron's a lot of fun. The first movie is, I'm gonna try and I'm not looking at the Wikipedia. The first movie is Flynn's Arcade. There's a character named Flynn, and he designs video games. And the company that he worked for reminds me of Kojima. The company that he worked for, he had a falling out with them, and they stole all his property. Usually you get some sort of license or copyright if you make something. And apparently the company stole all his work. And he can't make a living. Like, he's a rich man. That's what it is. He did all the work. He's a rich man, and he can't enjoy any of it. And so he has an arcade where he can actually make some money back on all his hard work designing video games. So this corporation that took all of his millions of dollars is just becoming dark. And I'm not going through the story linearly. What happens is this always confused me. I think the company started manufacturing weapons and things, like weapons AI. They started doing the real world. They started reaching into how can our robotics team feature technologies reach out into the real world, or how can the company function? And they start messing with ideas. And the one idea that's the problem of the story is that they built a laser which could digitize someone and drag them into the game world, the digital world of ones and zeros. Now, the problem with that is that within the game world, there's a red villain man The idea is that there's a program that's become a problem. There's like the main AI has become a villain because the way that the story unfolds, it seems like they had it so that Flynn was sneaking back into the company to steal his stuff back, and he the computer sneaks up on him and drags him in and shoots him and sends him into the digital world. There's a real world character, the boss of the company. But that's what I'm getting at, is that I don't think the boss of the company would do that to Flynn. And what you see in the story is that the boss of the company is at the mercy of this AI individual. So when thinking about Tron, I'm wondering, Flynn just made video games. His work financed his company. But I don't know, somewhere they haven't gone over it. That somewhere in that company, someone was trying to do some sort of AI program. Laundry. So that's the one thing that was scary about Tron, was that there's a big bad villain. There's two villains. And it does a Wizard of Oz type thing, where the head of the company shows up as a Darth Vader type character within the grid. And that's Flynn's main problem. So Flynn is in the grid as this lowly gladiator. Oh yeah, I was about to say, one of the main things that I really liked about Tron was Mobius helped design it. And I've always wanted to see some things happen that were done based on his sketches, because I had the same ideas. And then I see this article, and there it is. Mobius had the same thought that I did. There's an idea of a giant program eating smaller programs. There's something entertaining about it. I desperately want to see. These lowly gladiators being flicked into a giant mouth and just chewed and spit out. To see it is really neat. But so Flynn has two friends on the out. This really is Wizard of Oz. Flynn has two friends that work at the company. And they show up at his arcade to see how he's doing. And he's complaining about it. And he said things would be better if I could just steal all my work back, get the copyright. So they decide to help him. And then he's digitizing and he's in the arcade. Oh, the grid. I can fast forward through Tron. You learn that Tron fights in these disc games, but the disc they look like frisbees, and they're basically data chips. That are stored on their backs. They pull this data. It's like drawing a sword almost, but instead of a sword, they draw this disc that's like a frisbee off their back, and it has all their information on it of who they are, and they whip it around and toss it at people. And I think it's the most imaginative thing ever. They have a frisbee fight. Because it's death. The thing is Yondu stuff. It's like having a spinning blade come at you. So Flynn gets captured. Digital Flynn is captured, and he meets up in a jail cell with two other characters, I think. One of them's Tron. And then they're forced to do light cycle races. But something weird happens where Flynn has more power than the others because he's a living, breathing person. There's some story beat where he's the user. He's not a digital person. He's a living, breathing, thinking person. So, in the story, Flynn's aliveness is able to restore and boost these programs back to life. All he has to do is I don't know. It's like a lay on hands and they're healed. There's also, I need to look it up. There's also Tron has a love interest. He has on the cover, you see someone's next to him. Yori. His friends are Tron, Yuri, and Ram. And what happens is they have to make it to the mainframe or something and defeat the bad program and send Tron's data rather than the mean big bad villain data. And then they save the day. And everybody's happy. But then, similar to the Wizard of Oz, the guy who runs the company, by the end of the story, he's still dealing with this bad AI program. They don't kill it all the way. I'm having trouble with the window. I need to get some water. I'm going to hit pause. Okay, that's pretty much Tron. But the end of the first movie is it ends in a way where it's like, oh, the heroes save the day, and then the villain starts getting tortured by this AI in the real world. Which means that even though they made the grid safe again, this AI is now actually making choices in the real world. He's in control of the company. It's one of those you didn't know the whole story. The AI is that much of a problem of where he's in control of the whole thing. So at the start of the story, Flynn wants his copyright back. And so that's the AI fighting him, saying, no, you can't. Thank you for your hard work, but that's funding my research and the getting into the real world. So the whole thing of Tron is about this dark program that needs to be stopped. And I'm hoping that they brought that back for the third one. Because it shows up in the second one. In the second movie, that's exactly what they do. There's a dark program that wants to show up in the real world. And it's not supposed to. And so it takes a hero like Tron to stop it. But it also takes Flynn. That's why Jeff Bridges' character is so neat. because he comes across as this hippie, but he designed the whole thing. Ow, guitar hurts. So it's like someone reclaiming their stuff back. These video games. So I haven't thought about Tron in a while. To think about it, Flynn is the problem, isn't he? If Flynn designed that company, or it depends, if he's behind all that, then Flynn came up with the grid. But I don't think he did. I think the Dark AI program did. Flynn just made the Gladiator games. Flynn designed the games that torture everyone. So any old person in the world has some sort of authority over these programs. They can heal. The programs work for whoever plays the games. Okay, so what I'm looking for is what what is the meaning of Tron? What is the meaning of Tron? What does Tron mean? What does Tron mean? You have Flynn. Who wants his stuff back? He wants his stuff. He goes into a game. And he's forced to see how much trauma it is. By the end of the story, he has his stuff back. And the world is no longer a trauma. But it's also about a creator who's lost control of his creation. So I'm trying to figure out what kind of story Tron is. Is Tron the main character of Tron? I don't think so. Tron and Yori, they have a mission within Tron. So the main character is Flynn. There's a life lesson in there. So there's some sort of life lesson that needs to happen with Flynn. And I think, I don't know, he's taking pride in his game. That's what it is, isn't it? Flynn is taking pride. Flynn had fun at a war machine. And the story had to drag him out of the idea that everything was fun and games and show him that him having fun was actually hurting people. Flynn's idea of fun was actually a torture to folks. And he had to see it firsthand. But Flynn, the minute that he's in it, he understands and wants to escape. So the idea is that Flynn is about selfishness in some way. The idea that Flynn is focused on getting his games back, and then he's going to walk off and be a rich man, while this dark company, this dark program, just destroys the world. I think Tron doesn't. That's what's confusing me, is that's not what happens in Tron. He thinks, okay, he doesn't get the ending that he wants. Flynn thinks that he saved the world. They snatch it away from you. So Flynn learns his life lesson and he destroys this dark entity. Though he doesn't get to do it. Okay, Flynn and Tron save the day, but they don't. The creature lives on. That's what was throwing me off. But Flynn learns his lesson. But what kind of lesson is that? He can't make... Wait a minute. Okay, so it's saying Flynn's games specifically are part of something called the grid, where the AI has become so mature that is able to build real thinking, feeling people. That's interesting. That's a neat one. I'm tired. uh, the idea is about Flynn learning his lesson. What does it mean? So it's caring and empathy. He was having fun where he shouldn't have by making video games that actually tortured people. That's is kind of like the Belko experiment, where they brought these people in to do um, human research testing. They sit someone down at a table and they ask a question, and if they get the question wrong, they hit the button and it shocks the person across from them. And as they ask questions, the shocks get more and more harmful. And the idea of the test, I think, is when at what point does this person say enough is enough? I'm not going to participate in this game anymore. This game is hurting someone. At what point do I call the whole thing off? Or am I too focused on my goal of getting the money that they promised me? But with the Belko experiment, I think they ended up paying those people just for participating. So Flynn has to learn that his program specifically is hurting folks. And not only not only is it hurting folks, but he built an entire arcade. He took he built the thing at a war machine, and then the games sell, and he built his own arcade where he can just collect the money off it, hurting folks all day. So it's an empathy story. It's some kind of empathy story. Okay, so it's about an hour later, an hour, 2 hours later. I finally finished sweeping all the Christmas tree. There are little prickly bits all over the floor. What does Tron mean? It's a type of apology. I think because Flynn was doing harm and he didn't realize it. But what makes the movie fun and clever and why little kids like it is that you have to use your imagination. He has to apologize to make believe people. Flynn, I think the way the story goes, I said it earlier, I think Flynn created a space for programs at a military site. I think he worked for the military, some corporate, because when they break back in, it's an iron door. It's a gigantic iron door. And that's only at some sort of, I don't know, conglomerate? Some giant military conglomerate. And at that place, he played around and made something lighthearted. And the company used it and they got rich off of it. So, which one is it? He built games. Flynn runs back in that building. He knows every inch of it. He's sneaking around corners and whatnot, cracking jokes. And he runs right back up to his old computer, it seems. And there's a trap waiting. So whatever he was doing, he was working at some giant corporate site. And if they were up to war games or whatever, I mean, it was tech. You know what I saw this? Wikipedia. Okay. Kevin Flynn is a leading software engineer, formerly employed by a large technology company, Encrom. He now runs a video game arcade and attempts to hack in an Encrom system with a program called Clue. Hoping to find proof that he is the true author of Encrom's best-selling video game, Space Paranoids. However, Encrom's master control program halts his progress, and Clue is deleted. Within Encrom, programmer Alan Bradley and his girlfriend, engineer Laura Baines, discover that the MCP has closed off their access to projects. The Master Control Program. When Alan confronts the senior executive vice president, Ed Dillinger, he asserts the security measures are an effort to stop the hacking attempts. However, When Dillinger privately questions the master control program through his computerized desk, he realizes the MCP has expanded into a powerful virtual intelligence and has been illegally appropriating personal, business, and government programs to increase its own capabilities. As Dillinger rose to the top of Incrom by presenting Flynn's games as his own, the Master Control Program blackmails Dillinger by threatening to expose his plagiarism if he does not comply with his directives. Okay. So what was throwing me off is the idea that Incrom. What is Incrom? It's like Google. So I still think this story is about an apology. Flynn built the games. But Incrom is different. Incrom is Incrom. Whatever they were working on in Incrom, it took off in a direction where it built actual AI. But at the same time, it's so interesting. Flynn's games are a huge part of the grid. I don't know. I think the idea is that Incrom, the MCP of Incrom, the main program, the main AI, appreciated Flynn's work as a means to control. It probably wasn't smart enough to figure something like that out. So Flynn, where my brain is stuck is the idea of OCP, that's Robocop. The Master Control Program at Incrom. Incrom is a corporation. And Flynn was able to walk in there, sit down at his desk, and start crafting software. Now, the Master Control Program is what goes dark. And his boss steals his work. But those two use Flynn's work to create an impressive system within the AI to control other programs, to manipulate other programs, to gain control through hacking and accessing government stuff. Is just going to reach out and get stronger and take over the world, is what it is. So what happens is the kind of video game story where you have a hero and you run through the levels and they beat the bad guy at the end. It starts to play out in the real world where there's a machine boss trying to take over the world. And the software engineer who writes games has to play through one in reality. But by the end of the story, they pull the bait and switch of that program is still running. They save the guy who builds software goes into the software and he saves the day there. They build a hacking program. They stop Encrum from being dark. But it's still alive. The idea that I'm trying to figure out is I think that there's an apology is the meaning of the story. Someone who spends their time writing software of you can be a hero has to be a hero is the story. But in that, within the game, there's oppression. There's a system of gladiators. It's a lot like Spartacus. The clothing that they wear are gladiator robes. When Flynn shows up, it's the type of thing where he has a change of heart, I think, about, oh no, my work isn't as great. It's not the joyful thing, it's actually harming folks. In that, he's feeling a type of remorse. He feels a type of remorse, and then he decides to do something about it. In the story, there's an urgency. Flynn has an urgency to get his stuff back because his friends arrive. Once they're locked out, they decide to tell him, no, you're not crazy. There is a problem at the company. I don't know. There's something about it that makes me think that it's an apology. Like, it's never too late to say you're sorry. And then once that happens, he then takes action to do something about it. It has the feeling of that. It has the feeling of Flynn wanting or needing to show up on the grid and pull a Spartacus of some kind. He gets trapped into doing it. But he showed up to get his stuff back, or to find proof that he was the author. So what actually happens? Flynn wants to know if he's responsible for the games. He wants to know if those are actually his games. That doesn't make any sense. Flynn writes the games. He must be trying to find out if he has copyright, or if the company actually owns it. He needs proof. Or it was that his boss said he wrote them. So he needs to go into the computer and find his stuff so that he can say, this, I have copyright. This is when I wrote it. And he's kicked out of the company. So Flynn is the author. What is that actually saying? That is someone who wants their stuff back. They've been wronged in some way. So as Flynn is looking for justice, it could be a justice story. Flynn is looking for justice. He's looking for things to turn in his favor. And then he hits the grid and he finds that other people are looking for things to turn in their favor. But there's a guilt there too, because he wrote the games that terrorize them. But at the same time, the AI is the one in control of the grid. Flynn didn't build a grid. Just like Flynn didn't build a laser that put people on a grid. So you have a story where Flynn is looking for justice. The the players on the grid are looking for justice. And what they have to do is they have to stand up to fascism again. This kind of feels like a tough one because I've been watching this movie over the years, and you have a sense of this happened and that happened. By the end of the story, it has Tron and Yori holding up an identity disk to rewrite the master control program. What does Flynn want? Is I think I think that's the main the main thing to look at is what does Flynn want? Because he spends so much time with them. He wants to get his art back. He made something that made everyone happy, and he didn't get the credit for it. And if he gets the credit for it, then he gets to live happily ever after. That means he gets the copyright. That means he gets the copyright to the video games. That means he becomes a rich man, rich enough to have his own corporation. But instead, he's scratching at quarters. He's trying to find quarters from people that want to play the video game. This is a tough one. Flynn, because it's the idea of Flynn's hurting someone when you wouldn't actually make that connection from watching the story. But there's a moment when I forgot what his name was. It's Ram. The adventure isn't kind to Ram. And he feels like if I need to rewatch Tron. There's a moment when they get restored by drinking the water. But if I remember correctly, Ram doesn't make it. He gets there too late or something, or it wasn't enough. And then Flynn tries to restore him from being a user to heal him, and it still isn't enough. I need to watch. I'm going to take a break and watch it again because Flynn feels like a philanthropist, not a philanthropist. I don't. Yeah, someone who's like, I wish I could do more for these people before I head back to my third world country. I mean, first world. There's a guilt and apology on Flynn. I don't know. I need to think about it a little more. Okay, I'm back. Sort of. I was watching. I went to. I went to watch it as not the whole film, but the story isn't kind of Ram. He gets when they escape, a tank attacks, and he doesn't survive the blast. He fades away. But I went back to watch the opening scenes. And usually in Act One, you can figure out what the story is trying to tell you. And it's I think it boils down to the scene where he invites his friends into the office. And they ask him what the problem is. And he says that his work was stolen. And I said before that this sounds like something, it sounds like he's looking for justice to be done. He wants to, he wants for his work to be seen as his work, and it wasn't. It was stolen. So it's almost like a court case of some kind. So I look up justice, and it's the process or result of using laws to fairly judge and punish crimes and criminals. Justice complements fairness and integrity, which is what he's looking for. Transcends discrimination, which is what happened to him. Integrity. Integrity meaning a type of uprightness that your word is your word, honor and integrity. But fairness is what's funny. If this story is about fairness, he's writing games and the whole story is about fairness. So, how does that work? The whole story is about Flynn trying to get his former coworker to play fair and playing video games. He stole his work. Yeah, it's starting to look like the whole story is based on Flynn trying to restore fairness, some sort of balance of fairness to what's happening in his life. It happens to him. The what do you call it? Discrimination. It's false, but he gets kicked out of the company. And then his friends, that's not fair. Then they notice that something happened to them, they get locked out, and that's not fair. Then they hop into the game world, and what's going on isn't fair. All sorts of programs are being hacked and abused and forced to fight when that's not what they do. So I guess in a way, Tron is about a hero that seeks to restore fairness. Flynn doesn't do it. That's what's really neat about it is what happens when he plays the video game happens within the grid where he actually talks to the character that comes along and saves the day. And then peace returns to the land. A sense of, I guess, fairness. Flynn gets his stuff back. And he goes on to start the company that he was supposed to. And the master control program is beaten. But he isn't killed. The villains aren't killed in this movie. It's a type of good game. I think it's saying play fair.